From the former pro gymnast's doctor being stabbed 10 times, to Stephen A. Smith saying that he feels nothing for the man, here's everything you need to know about Larry Nassar's condition. And let me tell you, it isn't looking good. Because to be honest, it's really surprising that Nassar's even alive at this point. Like, he was stabbed 10 times, with 2 jabs to the neck, 2 to his back, and 6 stabs to his chest, according to the president of the local corrections officers union, Joe Rojas. And that is some serious stuff, especially when you consider the fact that all of this happened inside a prison. In fact, Rojas even told reporters that if correction officers hadn't arrived on the scene when they did, Nassar would probably be dead by now. The Federal Bureau of Prisons also released a statement, saying that responding health staff took all the life-saving measures necessary to save the former doctor, and they immediately transported him to a local hospital for better treatment. So, thanks to them, Nassar is in stable condition right now. And in case some of you are concerned, the FBP has also reported that while Larry goes through his treatment, their team will be conducting an internal investigation into the matter to see what really happened. But hold on, should you even be concerned? I mean, the guy is literally serving a prison sentence for some serious crimes. So is he really entitled to people's sympathies? He's sentenced to 2 separate sentences here. One is a 60-year-long one for charges of crimes against minors. But if that wasn't disgusting enough, Nassar was also sentenced to 175 years in prison in a Michigan state court after more than 150 women and girls came out in court to speak up about how he abused them over 20 years. Yikes! And guess what? The former gymnastics doctor has pleaded guilty to 7 counts of criminal sexual misconduct, even admitting that he'd misused his position and the trust that comes with it to assault and molest young girls in the name of medical treatment. I know, what a sick, sick man. His 156 victims have all given statements in court, detailing their horrifying experiences with this man, and how they'd gone to Larry to get treatment for their sports injuries only for him to assault them and cover it up by saying that it was a form of treatment. And that is so messed up, especially because a lot of these victims were young girls and minors who had very little idea about what this dude was doing until many years later. But you know what makes it worse? A lot of the women did speak up about the procedure internally before going to court, but all of their complaints were ignored by USA Gymnastics, the university where Nassar was the gymnastics doctor, and even the US Olympic Committee. These big institutions simply brushed everything aside and refused to take any action against this horrible man. So they had to take the legal way out, and I'm so glad they did, because in 2021, these victims reached a $380 million settlement with the organizations for all the harm they'd been put through. Of course, Larry was sent to prison, where this stabbing incident happened. All of his criminal offenses have been brought back into the light because of that. And naturally, some of the survivors have spoken up too, like Ashley Erickson, who was a patient of Nassar's for 9 years. You know, back in 2018, when this case was going on, Ashley went to court and painfully described how she'd lost all of her trust for everyone in her life because someone like Larry, who she trusted for the longest time, had taken every ounce of it away. I can't even begin to imagine what that must feel like. But even then, the news of Larry being stabbed in prison isn't all that happy for her, because she thinks violence has never been the answer. She posted a video of her response to the whole thing, saying that she doesn't think he deserves this. Like, when she sent him to prison, her goal was never for him to get beat up or stabbed like this. She just wanted him to pay for all of his crimes and everything that he'd done to her and her fellow survivors. Ashley even said that most of the other survivors would also feel the same way, because none of them are wishing any harm on him. All they want is for him to serve his time, and that's what should happen. Ashley isn't the only one who's speaking up against the assault, though. Other victims have come forward too, and they've agreed with her here, including the first woman who publicly accused the doctor, Rachel Den Hollander. She didn't post a video-length response, but Rachel did take her grievances to Twitter, and her take wasn't as direct as Ashley's, but the message was great. She said that she held both justice and forgiveness in her heart. Justice for doing what's right, and forgiveness for desiring her offender to actually find redemption. And so, she didn't support these assaults on Larry. Adding on to that, abuse attorney and victim advocate Sarah Klein also issued a statement about the attack on Nassar, and she explicitly said that it brought no peace to neither her nor the survivors that she'd spoken with. If anything, that incident had forced her and the victims to relive the abuse and trauma, and it had opened many wounds for them. She said that all of them want Larry to face the sentence he received and serve his time. And of course, she doesn't support violence in any way. But that's not because Larry doesn't deserve it or anything. No, it's because death would be a really easy way out for the man, who deserves much, much worse. And so, Sarah urged the Department of Justice to make sure that something like that never happens again, so that Nassar is never allowed to escape the consequences of his actions. Like Sarah, other attorneys and judges have given their takes, and like the victims who spoke out, they don't like the situation. In fact, the very judge who signed Larry's death warrant at one point also hated this attack. In her own words, she had no personal vendetta against this man, but she did have a duty to his victims, which is why she gave him the sentence. But as a judge, she obviously respects the law more than anything, and knows that this sort of attack on anyone is wrong, even if they happen to be a sexual offender. An attorney who served on the case agreed as well, saying that as awful as Larry's crimes have been, his sentence at the end of the day wasn't a death penalty. He said every prisoner is entitled to some level of protection. And I can see where the concerns are coming from, especially since this isn't the first time that Nassar has been assaulted. He was attacked once before this as well, in 2018, in the same prison facility. So something clearly needs to change. But wait till I tell you about the person who attacked Nassar, because the man has committed violent attacks like these twice before. Yeah, the attacker's name is Shane McMillan, who's gotten many penalties because of his violent behavior. So maybe he should be on a risk watch or something? You be the judge. Anyway, Shane also opened up about why he attacked Larry, and he said that the ex-USA Gymnastics doctor provoked the attack when he made a weird comment while the two were watching a Wimbledon tennis match. Apparently, Nassar said he wanted to see girls playing in a women's match, and that really annoyed McMillan, who lost his temper. And while most people have been against McMillan here, American sports radio host Stephen A. Smith openly admitted that he had had zero sympathy for Larry. Yeah, he said that Larry was the most despicable human being on earth, and he deserves to get his ass kicked every day. Now, Smith knows that his opinions on this won't be very liked by other people, but he wouldn't give a damn even if Nassar was thrown to the bottom of a jail cell, with all the worst people around him. It would serve him right for all the things he'd done to those women. But he also didn't want Larry to die, because just like Sarah, Stephen also agrees that death is way too good for the former sports doctor. And it's great that he's in stable condition right now, because he shouldn't get any way out. So, there you have it. From Smith not feeling bad for the former doctor, to the man's life being in danger after he was stabbed 10 times. This was all on Larry Nassar's condition and what people have to say about it.